So I'm realising that I buy a lot of books to start series and then never actually read them, so I'm not officially in the middle of these series. But that doesn't really make it any better, does it? Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. So if you watched my last video, you will have seen me talk through the book series that I am in the middle of. So that was any series where there are books out that I can be reading that I have not yet read, even though I have already started the series and read at least one book from it. When I went to sort of make that list, I found that actually there was a lot less series I was in the middle of than I expected there to be, and that confused me a little bit because I was fully expecting that to be fairly extensive. And then I realised that what it is that when I think of series that I own, there are actually a lot of these books, but I haven't even started the series yet. They are series that I want to start, and I've bought the first book and then have never picked up. And some of these books have been on my shelves for like 4 years, probably it's the longest, maybe a little bit longer, I don't know. But yeah, some of them I've owned for a while, some of them are more recent and I've only acquired in the last year, so I'm giving myself a little bit more of a pass on those ones. But some of these I really should have started by now. I just need to know whether or not I'm going to be carrying on with the series, essentially. If not, I can get rid of them. But if I am going to carry on, obviously I'm going to have a lot of books to buy when you see how many that I need to start here. So what I'm going to do today is talk you through all of the books that I own, the first in the series, and haven't picked up yet. I really should do soon. And if any of you guys can vouch for any of these and tell me why I'm going to love it or why I should pick it up immediately, let me know. It might make its way onto my TBR sooner rather than later. But yeah, I've kind of broken this up into how interested I am in the series and possibly also like the reasons why I haven't picked it up immediately. So I'm going to start off with the books that I am probably most interested in. These are actually 2 completed series by authors that I've read before. So the first one, actually the first series I spoke about in my last video, was by the same author, so it makes perfect sense for it to be this one, and that is The Dark Vault, which is the Archived and the Unbound by V. Schwab. So this is a bind up 2-book series. This was originally intended to be a longer series. I believe it was supposed to be at least a trilogy, but it is from sort of the earlier days of V. Schwab's writing career, and basically the book series didn't get picked up for another book after this, so that is part of what has scared me off of reading this. Last time I spoke about this in a video, I did have comments saying that actually the ending isn't too bad. Like it's not obviously the ending that she wanted, but it is an okay place to leave it, so that makes me feel better about picking this one up. Sounds really intriguing. I know I love V. Schwab's writing. I've been working my way through her sort of backlist of books. This is one of this and the Near Witch are the ones that I really need to crack on with sooner rather than later, and then I'll pretty much be up to date. So yeah, this one will be getting read soon, and that's why it's kind of the first one I'm talking about, because I'm not holding myself too accountable with this one. I've been, like I said, steadily working my way through her books over the last year. I've read the entirety of the Dark Shade of Magic series. I also read Addie LaRue when that came out. I am up to date with the Cassidy Blake series, so I've read a fair amount recently, so I'm not feeling too bad about having not picked this one up quite yet. And the next one is also a bind up, and that is one that I kind of got on a whim. I think I got it as a Christmas present. I'd asked for it, but I'm not entirely sure when I'll get around to reading it, but I know I will do eventually, so again, not feeling too guilty about it. And that is The Modern Fairy Tales by Holly Black. This is a bind up of Typh, Valiant and Ironside, which is a fae fantasy series. I believe this is actually the same world that the Cruel Prince series lives in, and this bind up actually got released after the popularity of the Cruel Prince, hence why the covers look very similar. And yeah, I got this not long after I had finished The Queen of Nothing. It was definitely sort of riding the sort of wave of finishing that series and wanting a bit more from this world, but then I just haven't got around to picking it up yet. I will eventually, but I don't read a lot of sort of fae fantasy, so I have to be in the mood for it, but I know I will get to it eventually, so that is absolutely fine. The next one I only picked up this year, so again, it's not one that I'm holding myself too accountable for, but that is The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. So I read House on the Cerulean Sea earlier on this year. It's my first book I've read by TJ Klune and I really enjoyed it. And this one definitely sounds up my alley. It's a sort of superhero type story. The sequel has just come out. I actually bought this one because I got approved for the arc of the sequel, even though I haven't read the first one yet. It was definitely on my radar. I just not picked it up yet. And when I got approved for the arc, I was like, oh, buy the first one and hopefully I'll love it and then I'll read the sequel. The sequel's now out. I still haven't read the e-arc, but I am going to read both of these this year, definitely. This hopefully actually will be something that I read in the next month or so. Spoiler alert, I'm going to try and fit it onto my September TBR. It all depends on how the games come up, because September's going to be a fun one where I'm trying to combine multiple things onto a TBR at once, but that's coming up in a future video, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, definitely hoping to, if I can't fit this in my September TBR, it will hopefully be in my October one. I don't really want to push it past that any further because I'm just very excited about the series in general, and I want to read TJ Klune's other new book that's coming out as well, so there's plenty to be reading there and I don't want to kind of have a backlog by one author, so hopefully we'll be reading this one soon. So that is the series I haven't started yet from sort of authors that I have read before, and I'm very excited to read those ones. The next set of books is authors that I haven't read from before, but these are series I am particularly excited for whatever reason, be it that I've just heard really good things or that the story sounds particularly interesting. So let's crack on with those ones. The first one being Scifi by Neil Shusterman. So this is set in a world where basically disease and death don't exist anymore, so the only way to control the population is to have this group of people called the Scythes, who essentially go around and kill people in order to keep the population to the right numbers for the planet. And I believe it's about two characters who start training to become Scythes and then kind of find out some deeper things about this world. I think it's dystopian. It sounds like a dystopian to me anyway. And yeah, I've heard very good things about this one. I know I've heard mixed things as the series goes along. It seems like people either absolutely love it or absolutely hate it. But I have very high hopes for at least this book, and it is one of those that sat on my shelf for a while and I've just not been in the mood to pick it up. But it is one that I've heard sort of a lot of people talking about again recently, so that might inspire me to pick it up sooner rather than later. But it is still one that I'm very excited for. I just need to be in the right mood for it. The next one is a newer addition to my TBR, so again I'm not feeling too guilty about this one, and that is Spellsinger by Sebastian de Castell. So I definitely bought this one because of Jade from JD Ray Reads. I believe I bought it like the day after she did her interview with Sebastian de Castell, and I knew that she was a big fan of his writing and was intrigued of picking something up, and I thought Spellsinger was the easier entrance route than trying to read the Great Cuts, because that is an adult fantasy while this is YA. And I could not really give you a synopsis of this. I don't know much what it's about. I've just heard good things about the series, and like I said, it's a newer sort of addition to my shelves, but it's one that I am very interested in. I just haven't been able to fit it into a TBR yet. Then we have The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. So this one I have actually owned for a while. I picked this one up in a charity shop while I was at uni, so that was about 5 years ago. But I know it's about a main character who is a clairvoyant, and that is about all I know of it. But again, it's one that I know people who like the series do really love. One of the reasons why I haven't sort of rushed to pick it up is that I know the series is still very much in the middle of it, and there is sort of like a wait between books, so I know I've got plenty of time to kind of catch up. If I was to read it now, I'd be one of those people who is then anxiously awaiting the next release, so I'm actually fine with waiting a little bit between this one. But I am still very much interested in it, and I will, again, you'll hear this a lot, hopefully be picking it up soon. The next one is actually one that I was gifted more recently. It was in a haul a few months ago, and that is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. Can't really tell you too much about the synopsis. I just know that the people who love this book really love it. I've heard there's somebody who's in a group chat that I'm in who is actually obsessed with this book, and I was in this group chat when the sequel came out, and the amount of sort of promoting that she was doing on Twitter for this was ridiculous, and it made me really, really intrigued to read it. So I will hopefully again pick this one up soon. I'm glad that I do have a physical copy now, because that will inspire me to read it sooner rather than later. Another phrase you've heard quite a lot in this video already. Then we have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This one I believe is a Russian inspired fantasy series. I could be wrong about that. I know actually it does say set in the wilderness of northern Russia on the back, so well done me But again, I don't really know much about the actual storyline of this. You know this from me, if it's a book that I haven't read yet, I won't be able to give you a great synopsis because I like to go in as blind as possible. But again, it is one that we've all heard very good things about, and I picked this one up on a whim because at the time it really wasn't my sort of thing, but I just heard such good things about it that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pick it up anyway. It was on buy one get one half price. But then the more I read and the more sort of fantasy type books that I'm starting to read, the more interested I get in different types of fantasy anyway. So hopefully I will be picking this one up. I'm just going to save it a little bit later on in the year because it definitely feels like more of a winter book. So I think I'll probably save this one for sort of November, December time. Now we're going to get to one that I've had on my shelves for absolutely ages. I honestly don't know if I'm going to like this series or not, but I will try it eventually. I feel like it's sort of like a booktube staple by this point. It's one of those that everyone spoke about many years ago when it was first coming out, and that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So this is part of the Raven cycle. I believe there are 4 books in this series, and there is now a spin-off series as well, which has got 2 books in it. And what I know, it's about there's a girl called Blue who's been told that when she kisses her true love, he's going to die. There's also something about a search for a dead Welsh king, and yeah, I don't know anything else about it. It's again one of those where I've heard people absolutely adore it, and then I've heard some people just be like, why? But I am very much excited to read it eventually. Luckily with these, most of these I have only actually bought the first one in the series because I'm also very bad for buying later books in a series even when I haven't started them yet, but luckily I haven't with these. But it does also mean that some of them I'm going to have nightmares trying to find a matching set, as I believe is the case with this next one, which is An Ember in the Ashes by Scifi. So this one, again, do not know really anything about whatsoever. I believe it's a martial fantasy. I think there's some sort of training element to this first one at least. I know that Becca from Becca and the Books recently binged the entire series and sort of had mixed feelings about it, I believe, but I do want to read it. I heard good things about it at the time. I think it was Hannah from A Clockwork Reader who really liked this series, and that was why I picked it up. But I know the covers have changed a few times in this series, so I don't even know if I can get the matching set for this anymore, which is a little bit annoying. But I have had this on my shelf for quite a while and never picked it up, as is the theme of this video. Next one is one that I bought, and I know I haven't actually picked it up to read, and that is because it is middle grade, and I do not read a lot of middle grade. But I'd heard good things about this one, so I think I was being optimistic, and I'm still optimistic. I'm hoping this is the middle grade that I absolutely fall in love with, and that is Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. So this is about, this one I do actually know the synopsis of. This is about a girl called Morrigan Crow who's believed to be cursed and sort of just a very unlucky character, and she's supposed to die on her 11th birthday. But then as it comes up to her 11th birthday, someone comes and sort of whisks her away to Nevermore, and then magic ensues from there. I know the series isn't finished yet. I don't know if we're up to book 3. I know it's Hollowpox is the most recent one that's come out, but I don't know what number that is in the series or how many there are going to be in the series. But this is the middle grade that you tend to hear people who don't often read middle grade tend to enjoy, and I think that's part of the reason why I picked it up. It sounds just really fun and magical, really, and yeah, I don't know. We'll see if I like it. Hopefully I do. And then the last one in sort of series by people that I haven't read from before but I am very excited to read is also a newer acquisition. I think I got it at the end of last year maybe, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. So this is the first in a series, but there isn't anything else out yet. There is just this one. I believe the second one is due out this year, next year, sometime soon, but not too soon. But this one is a more recent release, and I actually got this one in a Illumicrate box. And yeah, I believe it's about the main character's mother has died, and then she is sort of attacked by some sort of demon or something like that, and that sort of unlocks some sort of hidden memory about the night that her mother died, and something to do with the magic that she has and doesn't really know about. And yeah, I don't really know too much more about this, but I have seen people reading it recently and enjoying it. So again, it's one that is on my radar, and hopefully I will read sooner rather than later. Are you sick of hearing me say that yet? To be honest, you won't hear me say that much more because the rest of these books are the ones that I have been putting off a little bit more for whatever reason. The first half was definitely books that I was more excited about. And then this one is ones where I must have been excited for them at some point, enough to buy them, but they are not ones that I see me picking up in the immediate future. They are ones I hope to get to, but I can honestly not tell you when. The first ones of these are actually books by authors that I've read before and have liked things from them before, so I picked these ones up because I liked something previously, but these are probably books that I'm less excited about than what I liked from them previously, which is why I've been putting them off a little bit. So the first one is Legend by Marie Lu. I bought this one secondhand on a whim after reading Warcross and Wildcard, and I think I planned to read it fairly shortly after at the time, but then just never picked it up. Again, do not really know too much what it's about, but it is that sort of like classic YA that doesn't always tend to date that well, so I don't know if I will ever pick it up, but I'm gonna leave it on my shelves for the time being just to see if it does grab my attention. If any of you guys have read it and loved it, please do let me know. The same can be said for any of these, but yeah, I will see how it goes, I suppose. The next one is Ace of Shades by Amanda Fude. So I read Daughter of the Burning City when that one first came out and I really enjoyed it. Bought this one as soon as it came out, but there was nothing about it that sort of grabbed my attention enough to make me want to pick it up straight away. I did hear some good things about this series. I think Emma from Emma Books really likes this series, but I just never got around to picking it up. I think the series is finished now though, so that could actually be a good thing because I could just binge read the entire thing, but who knows, we'll see how it goes and we'll see if I want to pick it up or not eventually. And then the next one is actually by an author who I bought this book first, but then read their newest release last year and did not enjoy it. And I'm in the minority for that, I believe, although I have seen more people talk about disliking it recently. And the book that I was talking about there was Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco, but the book that I bought first from her was Stalking Jack the Ripper, because I had full intentions of starting this series. One of the reasons why I never actually picked it up though was I actually hate this edition that I have. I asked for it again, I think I asked for it for Christmas one year. It was on my Amazon wish list, and I didn't realise that the version that they were selling on Amazon was the mass market paperback, and I absolutely hate it. It's so like just for size reference, like it's so tiny. That's a regular paperback and that's this one, and it's so tiny, and I just I just hate it. But then also, like I said, I did read Kingdom of the Wicked and just did not get on with it at all, and it was issues with the writing style that I didn't like as well, so I am worried that I won't like this, although the storyline of this intrigues me more. It is a sort of historical fiction about sort of solving these famous crimes from the time. I think there's this one, there is also then Hunting Prince Dracula, and I can't remember what the other ones are called, but yeah, I was very intrigued by this series, but then reading that one put me off. So I suppose we'll see. I might give myself a little bit more time so I can forget how much I disliked that one, and hopefully I'll like this one more. Hopefully it was just an issue with that particular story. Like I said, it was writing style things, but it was more some of the choices that were made to tell that particular story. So hopefully those don't sort of follow on into this, or didn't follow on from this into that, I suppose, but we'll see. I'm going to keep it on my shelves and see if I pick it up eventually. Then we have two from the same author, one that I bought because I was actually more excited about, and then one that I bought because it was sort of a classic of the YA age range that everyone was very sort of hyped over, and those are Cinder and Renegades by Marissa Meyer. So Renegades is the one that I was more interested in. It is a sort of superhero, supervillain type story, and I do think eventually I will pick this one up. It's probably the one of Marissa Meyer that I'm more excited to read. But then I also have Cinder, as I said, and this is the start of the Lunar Chronicles. So these are retellings of fairy tales. This one is obviously Cinderella, but as you can probably see from the cover, from the nice little robotics on there, Cinderella is actually a cyborg in this. Sounds slightly strange, and I don't know how I feel about this series in general, but it was, yeah, that time when everyone was reading this series, so I bought it. Again, I got like a second-hand copy on a whim. I think it was actually the same time that I bought Legend by Marie Lu. I was just wanting to read the books that everyone talked about on BookTube. It was when I was sort of first watching those videos many years ago now, and yeah, I don't know if I'm still interested in it at all, but I really am bad at unhauling things, so maybe I'll pick it up, maybe I won't, we will see. I don't know if I mentioned before those two actually that I'm now on to basically just random books by authors that I haven't read before, that I'm not entirely sure if I'm still interested in them or not. Although the next one is probably the one that I am more interested in out of this stack, and that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. So I have heard good things about this series. I have heard good things about Becky Chambers' writing in general. I've heard good things about her newest novella that she's got out. But I am not a massive sci-fi reader, so this is part of the reason why I haven't picked this up yet. Also, this is gifted, actually. My sister read this and then gave me her copy after because she said that she enjoyed it, but she won't read it again. So yeah, I don't really know what the series is about at all, but sci-fi I have to really be in the mood for. But I know that when I am in the mood to read a sci-fi, this is one of the ones I am more intrigued by. Then we have another gifted book that I am, again, not entirely sure if I really want to read, but I am intrigued to read something by this author just to see what their writing style's like, because they've got so many books out by this point. And that author is Holly Bourne, and this is Am I Normal Yet?, which is the first book in what I think is called the Spinster Club series. Again, know absolutely nothing about this. It was my roommate at uni who bought this for me as a Christmas gift, and I have just not got around to picking it up. It is a sort of YA contemporary, which again I'm sort of falling out of love with a little bit. I'm a little bit more picky than I used to be, but like I said, Holly Bourne has had quite a lot of books out now, and I just want to see if I've never read any of them. I would like to see if they're any good, so I might as well start with the one that is on my shelves. But yeah, I don't even know how many books are in this series now. I just know that I think when she bought this it was just one, and then there have since been more come out. So yeah, we'll see how this one goes eventually. Then we have one that I was actually really excited about at the time it came out, but I also wasn't a massive fantasy reader at the time, so I never actually picked it up to read, and now it's got to the point where I'm not entirely sure. But then when you put it in front of me, I'm like, yeah, but I actually really want to read this. So it's like a weird in between where I never think about it when I'm not looking at it, but then when I look at it I'm like, oh yeah, I should read that. And that is A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. So this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, I believe. Actually, just looking at some of the blurbs on the back, it's been described as mixing elements of Alice in Wonderland and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which sounds like my idea of heaven, because Buffy is my favourite TV show ever. So maybe I will read this one sooner rather than later. It's blurbed by Angie Thomas on the front as well. But yeah, I was really intrigued by this one when it first came out, and then just never picked it up. I think it was a duology. I know there is definitely a sequel. I think it is just a duology. So this one actually might work its way onto my TBR sooner rather than later, like some of the other ones from earlier. I think, like I said, whenever I pick this one up, I get intrigued by it. I just then never pick it up to actually read it. And then we have two that I have like very, very little feelings about, to be honest. First one is Enchanted by Gita Trellis. I am not sure if I'm pronouncing any of those words right. I'm not great at French, I never learned it. But I believe this one is a sort of fantasy French Revolution type story, and there are 2 books in this series. I know the series actually got renamed halfway through in America, I think. I don't know if it got renamed over here, but I know it definitely did in America. And yeah, it was one of those that I saw in a buy one get one half price table at Waterstones. I picked it up because it looked really intriguing. I think I saw it and it also instantly had Les Mis vibes, which is always going to grab my attention. So yeah, I picked it up and never read it, but I still think I will do eventually. But I just honestly can't tell you when, because it's not one that I ever sort of think about unless I am holding it. And then the last one on here is one that I honestly... Actually, no, I was about to say I honestly don't know why I bought it, but I do know why I bought it. I bought it because it was a box set in the works and it was cheap, and I believe that Reagan from Peru's Project had read this entire series and said that it was good. So I thought, you know what, while it's £10 for 6 books, I might as well buy all of them. Haven't picked up any of them since, and that is Poison Study by Maria V. Schneider. So yeah, there are 6 books I believe in the series, and basically the main character is in prison for murder, and she gets a sort of plea deal where she's either going to be sentenced to death or she can become this sort of royal food taster, which is the person who literally tastes the food of the royals before they eat it to make sure there's no poison in it. So she's still risking death every day, and then things kind of go from there. I don't actually know what the premise is after that, but like I said, I had heard good things about this series. I don't know when it's ever going to grab my attention to actually read it, but I do have the entire series of this one to read, so we'll see. I'm unlikely to unhaul it anytime soon when I do have the full series. I'm hopefully going to try at least the first one before I decide to give up on it as a whole. So yeah, that is all of the books that I could find on my shelves where I own the first book in a series, or at least the first book in a series, and I've not read a single page yet. That was a lot of books. That's a lot of series that I need to be starting, and the problem is that, yeah, if I like these, I will end up needing to buy a lot of books to carry them on afterwards, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm putting them off as well, because I know that when you start a series, it's not just... when you start a series, it is more of an investment, and that always freaks me out a little bit. There is definitely a reason why I tend to veer towards standalones. I think I just get a little bit more intimidated by series. She says when her TBR this month features the start of a 16-book series. But yeah, please let me know if you guys have read any of these series and can make a case for why I should start that particular one immediately. Let me know if you think there's anything that I would really love. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!